in the Chicago fire. As I mentioned, there was a museum there, Woods Museum, that we thought had burned to the ground. When I was in primary, anybody else remember that? We were told that this was lost. Well, it was Dr. Atiyah in 1966 was working in the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York, and he discovered 11 fragments, including facsimile 1. He didn't find the other facsimile, but he found facsimile 1 there. And eventually the church made a donation, although this was never announced, but a donation of $50,000 to the museum, and picked up the 11 fragments. So they're known as the Book of Abraham Papyri, or the Joseph Smith Papyri now, have been studied since. I was with Chad Flake, who was the head of Special Collections at BYU many years ago, when I was a student in the early 70s, late 60s, and was walking through Special Collections in the old library, the old Special Collections in the library, and he was trying to find, Chad said, well, follow me, and it was a big vault, as big as this room, and you walk through the aisles and so on. I'm sure it's a lot bigger now, but, well, in fact, I know it is, I've been in there. But the point is that as we were walking down the aisles, I'm seeing this thing laying on one of the shelves, okay, by where I am, and he walked ahead, and I stopped. And I'd never seen the real one before, and I says, is this what I think it is? And he says, yeah, and I wish the church would come pick it up. I said, do you mind if I look at it a little closer? But no, go ahead. So I picked it up. It was between safety glass, and looked at it for a minute. Of course, part of a big chunk of it's missing in the middle here, but it was definitely facsimile number 1, where Abraham was being sacrificed by the wicked priests of Ur. And interesting story. We don't study the story much anymore because of what facsimile 2 signifies and so on, what the pearl stands for. But at any rate, it's a great story, and we found out that portion of it was not lost. And I'd like to end with this, and that is a great man died on this day, a great American, in 1793 by the name of John Hancock. And also another great man that had something to do with Utah that doesn't get much press, passed away on this day. Mention him first. That's Franklin Pierce, who's President of the United States, not one of the more well-known presidents, but anyway, this is the actual appointment of Edward J. Steptoe to replace Brigham Young as governor. I've never shown this before, but it itself is a replacement for the original that got lost. But Franklin Pierce signed it. Steptoe had gone to California by the time this got to Utah and wanted to avoid the honor. Nobody wanted to take Brigham Young's place in Utah, so it never was actually utilized. But that's the original, signed by at least the original of what exists today, signed by Franklin Pierce, who passed away on this day, President Pierce. Let's see, he died on this day in 1869. Willy Brandt, the great German politician who was the mayor of Berlin when JFK made his Ich bin ein Berliner speech, passed away on this day at age 78 in 1992. And then John Hancock. And just to end with this, incidentally, I should show you this too. You thought facsimile 1 was only a Mormon thing. This is James Gordon Bennett's New York Herald, his friend of Joseph Smith, and look what he published right on the front of this newspaper, okay, 1842. So we got quite a bit of notoriety from that as well. And then, let's see. Oh, that's underneath. And you least suspect, right on top. John Hancock. His name is synonymous with signature. So, especially as collectors, love this guy. And try to collect him. Great American. He was the head of the Second Continental Congress as president when the Declaration of Independence was finally approved. And despite Jefferson's attempts to keep it the same as he wrote it, there were about 1,200 changes made to it, most by his fellow committee members, Adams and Franklin. But when the full group tried to take out the name of the king as a tyrant, Jefferson finally, who's hardly said 2 words to the whole convention, very quiet man, but a good writer at that time. He got more vocal as he became president later on. But Adams said the man hardly made 2 words. He gave 2 words while he sat in Congress. And again, this is one of the great achievements of John Adams, too, is that he, as head of the military committee, he picked Washington over Hancock, his good friend, who wanted to be the head of the military as well as the head of Congress. Because Adams knew that Hancock would be a disaster out in the field, and was tough enough to work with in Congress, even though they were good friends. So they signed the Declaration of Independence actually on August 2nd, 1776. I hope that doesn't throw too many of you off, but the original declaration, as I mentioned in an earlier discussion, was lost when I went to the printer on July 4th, and has never been found. So if anybody has that in their attic, I can promise you a visit from the FBI, despite the government being shut down. Although it'd be fun to find it, wouldn't it? But so on July 17th, Timothy Matlack, the best calligrapher that the Congress could call on, was ordered to make up an original. Our nation needed to have a birth certificate, and so it was started on July 17th, finished on August 2nd, and August 2nd is when Hancock put his Hancock on there. This is John Hancock's signature from a letter dated August 10th, just 1 week and 1 day later, in which he's commissioning General Clinton as a brigadier general in the American Army. The signature is almost identical to the one he signed the week before, so I wanted to pass that around. Sometimes at the Crandall Museum we've had the stone facsimile of the Declaration up, and we can put this up right next to it. That's the same size and everything. So he didn't just write for John Bull to see it over there. He wanted everybody to see his name. This is an old engraving of Hancock's house, what it looked like in Boston. He was from the upper crust. And finally, pardon me for going on too long. I'm going to have to cut these shorter, but just a lot of things happen, and I got a lot of things to go looking for. Finally, there was, I may have shown this before, but this is Hancock's watch. And we've had this on display at the cradle before, too. And the repair bill from the guy that was fixing it, okay? Underneath. And I'll pass it around. Maybe we just leave it this way. I will put the watch on in backwards, just so that you can see the Bullfinch Capitol, which back then was just known as City Hall. Okay, they were not independent at the time. There you go. So an eventful day all the way around, well, for our country and the world. And thank you for the time.